And welcome to the Lions Share podcast, where we talk family, faith, football, finance, and fun. I'm your host, Mitch Lyons. This episode, as always, brought to you by MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. Our guest today is John Inhulsen from InhulsenLaw.com. And John, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, Mitch. Nice to join you and your listeners. Thanks for having
Um,
us.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a long time. I've been intending to have you on because certainly estate planning is important. And, I trust you myself for my family. And I want to make sure folks are getting information that can help them and help them down that path of taking the necessary steps to make sure their ducks are in a row. So, again, thanks for coming on. And let's just jump right in, John. I guess what are some of
Sure.
the common misconceptions people have about estate planning? And I know a lot of folks think, geez, do I really need it? I don't have that much net worth. But what all does estate
Yeah.
planning encompass?
Yeah. So we run across quite a few misconceptions, and it's nice to bat them down for people. And people are pleasantly surprised. But probably the single biggest one is estate planning. That's for wealthy people, or estate planning. I don't have the kind of assets necessary for that. So that is the single biggest misnomer out there. Estate planning is for everybody, is a motto we run through our firm, and we preach and we hammer it on people. Estate planning's for everybody. Estate planning's for you too. It's not about net worth, assets, etc. It is about having a plan for your loved ones when you're gone, so that they have continuity and control over what you've left behind, and not a mess and stress. And so, very little of it, if any, has to do with financial assets. Those can all be structured the right way inside of a plan, but it's for everybody. And so that happens to be the single biggest misconception out there.
Well, and I think I've heard it said, and I think it's very accurate, that people will leave more instructions for a babysitter for a 3-hour dinner and a movie than they will
Yeah,
for their family and loved ones when they leave forever to go into
hand,
the
hands
next
down.
life. And I just find that amazing, really, right? And again, it's easy to kick the can down the road, and it's just one of those things. It's like life insurance, which is part of estate planning, but that 35-year-old that thinks, "Oh, I'm 35, nothing's ever going to happen to me." And but I always say, listen, read the paper, watch the news. There's plenty of 35-year-olds that thought they were going to see another day, and now they have got a widow with 4 kids,
Yeah,
right?
it's
And
true.
estate planning goes the same way. Um, w- you know, and what are some of the frequent mistakes, I guess, you see when it comes to estate planning? People maybe that have a plan in place, but maybe it isn't done properly. What kind of mistakes are being made out there?
Sure. Sure. And I want to hit this prior point again real quick. So here's how you know if estate planning's for you. Do you have a spouse? Do you have any children? Do you have a home? For most people, 90% of people out there, their single biggest asset is their home. How is that going to pass on? Is it going to be probated, or is it going to be passed on with a step up in basis privately, directly to your loved ones, where they can benefit either from the home itself and how it's supposed to be used, or the financial benefits of that thing? Do you have retirement accounts? Do you own a business or any business interests? If any of these touch you, and by the way, 99% of us fall underneath this $30 million combined, if you're married, 15 million individual federal. Most of us are not paying a federal estate tax. Estate planning has got nothing to do with that stuff. It has everything to do with, am I thoughtfully planning to pass along my assets in the best way possible for my family and loved ones when I go behind?
Well, and
Um,
you said it earlier. I mean, it's about control, right? It's
it's
about
control.
having control, getting things to people when you want, without tying it up in probate and
Yeah.
having unnecessary expenses and delays, and yeah,
Yeah, at our firm, our firm motto is your future, our focus. But what we really preach are the three C's: clarity, control, and continuity. And really,
sure.
that's what we look at as outcomes for our clients. And so, from a misconception number two perspective, I would say many folks come in and say, "I've already got a will. I just need I just need a simple update, or I just need a power of attorney. I already have a will." And what people in Michigan believe is that if you have a will, you avoid probate. Okay. And just for our listeners, what's probate? Probate is a division of every circuit court in every county in Michigan. Its sole purpose is to handle the disposition of the property of somebody that's passed away. It's a public process. It can take anywhere from 6 to 18 months. It can cost a pretty decent share of your estate if you haven't planned ahead of time. And It is about the last place you want your loved ones going in a form driven, long public court process when they're dealing with the loss of you. Okay. So a little bit of thoughtful planning ahead of time and you can avoid it altogether. But what people think is that a will avoids that. A will directs you directly to probate. Two types of people go to probate, Mitch. People with no plan, which is 70% of the public. And of that 30%, half of them that have a will based plan. They believe they went online, they downloaded a plan. Fantastic. Well, you're going to probate. So that's a big misconception. The other one is this. I did a will online. Okay, the online documents. I
Sure.
know we're in a digital age and we've got, I think you and I are in the Gen X segment, and our parents who were boomers, they definitely weren't going online. Uh, we have a little more trust in seeing professionals. The younger generations are digital first, they're digital native. And a lot of these downloadable forms, you've got to buyer beware, because I run across and redo a lot of wills that were downloaded, sold for being from Michigan, not Michigan specific at all.
Yeah, and you raise a great point there. And again, talking with John Inhulsen, InhulsenLaw.com. By the way, most five-star reviews in West Michigan. But we Mitch Lyons Wealth, we work with folks across the country, right? A lot in Michigan and surrounding states, but across the country. And that's the thing, right? Every state's a little different. And what I like about you, John, is if I send folks to you and they're from another state, you have a network you work with that can plug them in with an attorney in their state that is following some of the same guidelines and be consistent with your planning.
Yeah, well, and that's something we take great pride in. So we want to service as many people as we can, and we want to get that 70% number as far down as we can. But it's a big number and a lot of people. But if we can't help people that are sent to us or that call us and come to us, we try to place them as best we can, and we follow through. We want to make sure people are taken care of.
Yeah, no, I love that about you. Uh, So that's some of the misconceptions, and frankly, I asked about mistakes, but I think the biggest mistake, folks, are that I see from folks is simply not taking action, right, kicking the can down the road. But for those
Yeah,
folks that maybe have done, planning, one of the things I see a lot are just beneficiary designations gone a little stale, right? Gone
right.
through a divorce or whatnot, and you still get the ex-wife on there because you didn't think about it. It's important to review those sorts of things, obviously, but what else jumps out is some things that come up commonly.
So one of the other misconceptions that we see is that I've got a plan, whether it's a will plan or a revocable living trust plan, so I'm good. It's a one and done approach. And it was very prevalent with the baby boomers and some of the older Gen X. I am seeing a lot of people, an increasing number, who did a plan 20, 25 years ago, and it's a nice plan done by great professionals. They haven't looked at it since. Is it still relevant to your life? It isn't, and it needs to be completely redone, right? So they've invested once and now they're reinvesting again. We try to flip the old approach on its head, and we take an outcomes based approach here at our firm. And I think that's going to be the trend in our industry, is an outcomes based approach that's more relational, not document based, but relational. Because what needs to happen is when you sit down to do your planning, you need to be thinking, what works for my family and my life for the next 3 to 5 years? And then I'm going to make tweaks and adjustments with my counsel, whoever that may be, every few years as life changes and evolves, because we know one thing's constant: life's going to change and evolve. And so having that professional with you to make sure that those little tweaks are made, that those 15-minute conversations every couple of years to say, hey, thanks for touching base. These are the things that have changed in my life. Do I need to do anything? And that leads into beneficiaries, right?
Yeah,
Adult children get married, they get divorced. You can get married, you can get divorced. Maybe you've got more grandkids. Maybe a business you had before you've exited. It's a lot of life events can lead to the need for changes. But from a beneficiary perspective, you need to be looking at those every few years, or when something happens to a particular person and you're thinking about it.
sure. But you hear the adage, a dusty Bible leads to dusty lives, and the
That's a good
same is
one.
true in estate planning, right? I always say, listen, don't set the estate plan packet booklet up on the credenza there or on the shelf and let it get dusty. Dust it off annually, take a peek, or and make sure things are still on plan. Maybe some tax laws have changed, and I'll ask you that, I guess.
Yeah.
when it comes to uh, just legislative changes, right? What's
Sure.
new? What's recently changed that maybe people should be aware of?
Sure. Great question. So not a lot, which is a good thing, right? So a couple things I'll highlight that are relevant for most clients that we work with. Number one, uh, what's the federal estate tax limit? And I like to lead every conversation with this question. Do you have combined or individually this amount of money? And, if you're like 99.9% of the rest of us, the answer is no, right? But the one big beautiful bill that just recently passed in Congress that raised that estate tax limit federally up to about that $15 million mark. So that's a legislative update. Okay. And there are a few other minor ones that are more specific and nuanced that I don't think really apply to most folks. But then as it relates to retirement accounts and beneficiaries, which is a question you just asked, that Secure Act that passed back in, I believe, 2019, that changed how we treat tax advantaged retirement accounts as far as beneficiaries go. And so if you're married, you want to make sure that we're naming the spouses as the primary beneficiaries on those because the government's going to treat them differently than a third party. All right. And it's weird to call kids or somebody else or a trust a third party,
I
but
was going to say a trust. I get that a lot,
that's
right?
what it
Hey,
is.
my attorney said put everything in my trust. I need to change my 401k beneficiary. I was like, you don't want to
I
do
don't
that.
know about that.
That's
Yeah.
going to change some things for you as far as
It's going to
options.
change some things. Yeah. So what is the big thing there? If a non-spouse is your primary beneficiary on a tax advantage retirement account, and like you mentioned, 401k, IRA, Roth IRA, 503b, whatever it might be, then it's a 10-year required minimum distribution window. Whereas if it is your spouse, the full run rate you would have on those tax advantaged years for growth. And as you know in your space, you get into years 10, 11, 12, 15 on those growth targets, you got a lot of good money things happening and you want to compound where you can.
So just to be clear for folks, if it's left to a non-spouse, by the end of that 10th year, it's all got to be out of there and you got
It's
to pay the
gone.
piper. And typically speaking, if you've been taking minimum distributions up to that point, it's going to be a large chunk going on your top line and your adjusted gross income and probably popping you up into a higher marginal tax rate. And we get into that a lot with folks when it comes to Roth conversions, right?
Right.
Converting your 401 or your IRA to a Roth. And the problem being, hey, you got to pay taxes. Well, I don't want to convert because I'm going to pay taxes. Well, you're going to pay taxes at some point anyway, right? You or your
Yeah.
kids. And our, we have a Roth blueprint software we take folks through and show them exactly what their lifetime wealth will equate to by doing a Roth conversion versus not doing it. But it's just one of those things that all works together, right? And I always say there's a lot of pieces of pie when it comes to retirement planning in general, estate being part of that pie, income planning, RMDs and qualified plan distributions. It all goes together, and they don't exist in a separate silos. Making a
No.
decision here can make a big impact on taxes or
The
estate.
levers that adjust everything. And that new tool you have for your clients is fantastic.
Yeah,
And it's a good eye opener for a lot of folks.
yeah, and it's an important reason to have some trusted advisors in your corner, right, to help you through because it's a lot to understand when it comes to whether it's retirement planning or the estate planning side of it. There's just some things that we can't all be experts at everything, and it's important to have somebody in your corner. I always say it doesn't cost you money to have a CPA or an estate planning attorney or an advisor. It saves you money in the long run if they're doing their job and helping you avoid some of the pitfalls, which I always talk about looking through the windshield, right? Let's look through the windshield and see what the pitfalls are ahead, the potholes, if you
Yeah.
will, and let's avoid them versus looking in the rearview mirror and seeing oh, geez, we should have missed that one or that one, And let's be proactive and not reactive.
Yeah. Regret's an expensive teacher.
Yeah. So a lot of folks out there, John, maybe own their own business. They're entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Uh, and that gets a little next level, it adds a little complexity to estate planning because you've got the business considerations, making sure the continuity plan is in there, in addition to their personal estate plan. And I know you work with a lot of business owners, so maybe take
Right.
folks that are listening what that might look like for just some considerations or what might pop up in an initial conversation regarding those
Yeah,
situations.
absolutely. Yeah. Business owners is really a specialty of mine personally. I spent the first 15 years of my career as a trial attorney for businesses and then pivoted into helping people avoid going to court altogether. And so, with our proactive planning with business owners, usually what we see is They've planned personally and think they're good. In the business, they're just grinding, especially small business owners, right? They're grinding, it's every day, and they aren't stepping back and making the planning for succession, for buy sell, for the event where they're not planning for the event to happen. It's the unexpected, but allowing that business to have continuity and care and clarity. And so, one of the things, the three hot ones are who's in charge if something happens to me in the short term? Maybe I'm incapacitated for a while or out for the count for a little bit. Who's in charge if something happens to me and I pass away? How is my family going to benefit from this? Is there a buy sell agreement in place, and with who? And are we having those discussions? Because those discussions, when I bring these up with our clients, they've never thought about this. And it really does, it requires some internal thinking, some family discussions about who really is the right party to be on the other side of a buy sell agreement. And then the liquidity aspect of it, which I know we've worked together on with folks. How are you funding this? Because you've got this interest that you want to make sure gets passed along in a succession plan and according to a buy sell. And if you're gone, how's your family going to yield the benefit and the bounty of your years of ownership and growth? You've got to have some sort of liquidity instrument in place to make that happen, because likely a buyer is not sitting on that much cash.
Right. And I think it's easy for this to happen to folks as they start a business, right? And they're worried about how to keep the lights on next week. They're not worried about how they're going to get
No.
dissolve this thing 30 years down the road at once they've gotten success, right? But as
Yeah.
that business grows, things happen. And it's so important to do some of that stuff on the front end, right? To engage with an attorney like yourself to, make sure and maybe it's, some key person insurance or enough life insurance on yourself so that if this business doesn't work out and something happened to you, your family's taken care of. But it might start with just a small little thing, laying the groundwork. But then as that business grows and the complexity grows, you're there to grow with them and make sure that they have their ducks in a row and review things again, review on a regular basis. Would you say that's accurate?
That's accurate. Yeah. And the first step is always the biggest step, which is I'm deciding I've got an issue and I need to speak with somebody about it. Right. And that is to me the biggest first step for any business owner, especially, I mean, look, you own a business. I own a couple of businesses. Every Monday, I'm looking at my dashboards. I'm in the weeds. And then you've got to find the time to step out of it, go big picture, meet with somebody, and just get this stuff going. And I promise, folks, once you do, it opens up a whole new world of thinking about your business. And it's not as bad as people build it up in their heads to be. And you're more proactive about it after that.
So, John, if a listener wanted to talk with you and say, hey, you know what, he's probably right. I do need to talk to somebody. I mean, what's their first step in engaging with you?
Well, what we love to do is you can call our office directly, or you can go to grandrapidsestatePlanning.com. That goes right to our website. Fill out the short intake form. Our team gets it. You get contacted right away. Well, I think it's text and email and probably a phone call at this point. And what we like to do is either offer a 15-minute discovery call to make sure we understand what your issues are that you're dealing with and see if we're a good fit to help, or book you right into a 1 hour complimentary consultation. You meet with me or another member of the team, and that's all about you. People, I think there are a lot of people out doing this stuff. At our firm, it's about you, and so we want to learn more about you. We want to understand your unique situation and needs, and we want to educate you. My motto when I have these meetings is educate, equip, and empower. The goal is that we've put you in a position that you've gone from 0 to 1 on an understanding of what's going on, how the tools in the toolbox work, and what your needs are. And if it's something we want to move forward with any level of planning, we'll do it right from there.
So again, that's grandrapidsestatePlanning.com. You can reach out to John and his team and get a complimentary consultation. And I say this a lot when it comes to offering appointments for folks in our business at Mitch Lyons Wealth is you have nothing to lose, right? I mean, that initial conversation costs you nothing. If we can't help you, we're going to tell you. And I assume you would tell folks the same. Hey, you're all set, or hey, you don't need what you're asking for. You have what you need in place at this point. But it's worth a call, and or reach out on the website, grandrapidsestatePlanning.com. And it just reminds me, John, it's probably time for my review. So I need to line up that time and dust off the estate plan myself and make sure my ducks are in a row, because things change, business changes each year, family dynamics
Yeah.
change, and it's important to stay in touch with folks and or on top of things and get in touch with your trusted advisor. So, and I see this a lot. A lot of people have a plan and maybe they did it 20 years ago, right? And
Right.
the attorney they worked with uh, has retired, right? Or moved on, or they've lost touch, or they're not in touch with them anymore. I always tell people, listen, just reach out to John and have him do a review and make sure things, like you've said, things change on the landscape, and what was good 20 years ago, aside from their personal stuff, there may
Yeah.
be other reasons, legislative reasons, or something's changed that you need to review that. So uh, that's a big part too, just for folks that just need a simple review to say, hey, I don't know if I have a problem or not.
Right. And anytime, like, these meetings are for you. And if you're unsure of whether a meeting is the right fit for you, then we have a quick phone call. It's a low barrier to entry, and you're talking with me or another member of the team, and we're going to know right away. And if you've got an old plan and your counsel has retired, we're happy to take a look at that. We don't charge you for doing that stuff. And then what we do is, when we do something together, when we do a plan for you or any sort of planning, we offer a flat fee. It's not a standard fee. Everybody's plans are custom, but we want you to have cost certainty when you go to engage an attorney or us with this type of planning. None of it's cheap. It's all a line item for most families, and so being able to give cost certainty to clients is a big deal.
Sure. And again, it doesn't cost you money. It saves you money in the long run, and it saves your
It
heirs
does.
and your families a lot of headaches. So, John, feel free to give that number to reach out to your office.
Sure. Yeah. Office number 616-747-0000, or come check us out at grandrapidsestatePlanning.com. We're very honored to serve as many clients as we do, and we do have the most five-star reviews right now in West Michigan of anybody doing this. And, we look to keep that level of service up.
Yeah, well, John, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, I work with you personally. I believe in what you're doing. And I know you brought a lot of uh, assurance to Angela and myself, and for our family and our business. So, encourage people to reach out to John if you've got any questions at all. Reach out to him at grandrapidsestatePlanning.com. And we appreciate you coming on. I think you bring a lot of value, and we look forward to helping people get to you. And folks, if you just want to reach out to me, I'll give you an intro to John as well, and be able to put you in touch with his team and get you set and get you bring some assurances to your estate plan as well. So that's it, John. I appreciate you joining us today, and
Hey, we appreciate you, Mitch. Thanks
don't be
to
a
you and your
stranger.
listeners.
Yeah, don't be a stranger. We'll have you on as things change on the estate planning front. So, well, folks, that's the end of the Lion's Share podcast. Again, if you like this, if you find this helpful, please subscribe, please like, comment on it if you would. And again, MitchLyonsWealth.com. Go there. You get all our free resources, my book, my movie. You can sign up for our newsletter. Go to our YouTube page at MitchLyonsWealth.com. And, or excuse me, go to our YouTube page on YouTube, Mitch Lyons Wealth page. But again, signing off, Mitch Lyons here for the Lion's Share podcast.